Hi there, this is Vahid from the RF Education channel, and it is the third session of creating GUI for Python application automatically. In this session, I'm going to continue our discussion about an idea, or it's better to say a library, that's going to help us create GUI for Python application with just one line of code. If you didn't watch the previous sessions, I recommend to watch them first and then continue on this video. As you might already know, this library works based on object inside Python. It means that you pass an object to this library, and on the back end, the library goes through the fields and properties of that object. And based on their types, it puts appropriate widget on the form or on the dialog. And if you use properties, you can change the properties of the widgets also. And also you can change the predefined widgets for specific types. What does it mean? These GUIs or these dialogs are created using this library, and for each item or each field inside an object, it has an appropriate or related widget based on the field types. For example, for age we have Q spin box, for height we have Q double spin box, because we save a double value inside the height value of that object, and also for the others. For some specific types, such as lists and dictionaries, I add another capabilities to add or remove or also edit the current value of the selected items, or you can even add the item to this list or to these dictionaries using these tools. And also, if you have a complex object, it means that you have an object of other class inside your object. It goes something like this. The string representation of that object or that instance comes in the label, and you have a browse button here. If you press the browse button, other dialog will be created and shown automatically. And you can also change this field inside another dialog. And if this dialog also has another object, you can press the browse button, another dialog will be appeared. So in this session, I'm going to talk about how to support DateTime, date and time with the properties. We forgot to support them in the previous version, and also the support for the objects inside another object. I mean this part with the properties. And also, I said that we can customize the widgets and customize their properties. It's true for the properties that has scalar values such as string, int, double, boolean. For the other properties, such as minimum size or maximum size, that their value is not a scalar type, and we need to provide a complex object at their values, I need to add them step by step to this library. Right now, you can use these two properties with your widgets. These are very useful in GUI design, and you can use them in a way that I will tell you in future very soon. Another feature that I add in this version is filtering option to the list and tables. If you look here, I add two other options on the top of list and tables, filtering option. We didn't have them here, but I added them to this version. So you can filter a list. When you have a lot of items inside the list, you can search for a specific item. And this also applicable to dictionaries that has shown inside a Qtable widget. You can filter them based on the keys, not the values, just based on the keys. And after that, I add a new widget to handle a list of objects, not a list of scalar values such as a string or integer or boolean, a list of objects. Imagine that you have a list of address inside your Python objects, okay? This library gonna show you this field inside the grid, inside the table widget, but I changed its name to SimpleGrid because it's somehow different to ordinary Qtable widgets. I add pagination ability here, and you can prevent to show all the items. For example, 1000 items inside the Qtable widget. You can paginate it. You can set the item to or row item inside the current view of the table widget. 10, 20, 50, and 100 is the predefined items. And also you can go through the pages. And you can also edit the current value for scalar types. For example, you can change the value for city, street, and postcode, but for phone and extra info, because they are complex object, it's a list and it's another object. Right now, you can just watch them or can see them. You cannot edit them, okay? In future, I'm going to add the ability to this SimpleGrid, and I'm going to introduce another widget. It names Advanced Grid. In Advanced Grid, I'm going to use widgets instead of QTable item, and then you can be able to watch the content of this object and also be able to edit the complex objects or some other types rather than scalar values inside the grid. But right now, it works fine for some scalar types inside an object list. Okay, let's go to VS Code and check all the items in practice. Okay, let's see what we have for this session. Just like other sessions, I'm going to use a class named person to demonstrate what this library provides for us in this session. First of all, I'm going to check the thing related to date and time, how property can handle this type of fields. So let's add 3 different values. Login underline time. Before that, I'm gonna create a variable named now, and it's equal to datetime.now. So login time equals to now.time. Okay. Self.bundle login underline date equal to, this one is now, equal to date.today, this is date, and self.dunder last underline login equal to now. This is a combination of date and time. And now I'm going to add 3 different properties for these 3 private fields. I'm going to use property, then def login underline time, return self.dunder login time, and also for setter parts I'm going to use login underline time dot setter def login underline time self and then value, and we should annotate this value, and I will do it very soon. And here I'm gonna say self.dunder login time equal to value. And let's make a copy and paste it twice for those other fields. And I'm gonna replace these values with the appropriate text. You can select a text and then press Ctrl D in VS Code to select other similar things in forward direction. So for the first one, I'm going to annotate it and say, okay, for widget, you can use QTime, or time itself. Both works. And for the other one, it's date. I'm going to annotate it and say widget for this value is QDate. And for this one, and also you can use date here. And for this one, I'm going to use widget equal to DateTime, or you can use QDateTime. Now let's print the values to see if the changes are applied to fields or not. /n self.login date and /n self.last login. Now let's run the application. Okay, 3 different widgets for time, date, and datetime are appeared on the form with the related caption for those widgets. I'm gonna change it to 8 in PM. This one changed to 1st of March, and also this one to the 2nd of March, and the hour to 12 PM. If I press OK, you can see all the changes applied. Last login, 2nd of March, time 12, and this is the 1st of March. Oh, I forgot to change it to login time. And let's run it one more time and just change this one again. This is 8 PM or 20. Okay, this is how we can handle date time fields. Oh, you can use date here, it's not important. Or for this one, you can use QDateTime. QDateTime. The result is similar to previous one. So you can use each of them that you want. Let's go to Qt Designer and put a Qt DateTime or Qt date on the form. These two has a very good property, handy property. It says that calendar pop-up. If you checked it, now the calendar changed to a combo box. You can open it and just select the month in a visual manner. Okay, and I can set it in my library. So if I just go and grab this property and coming to the date, semicolon, calendar pop-up, and set it to true. And also for Qt DateTime, it's applicable. Qt DateTime, calendar pop-up, true. If I run the application, you can see these two change to a combo box thing. And I can change it to March 1st and March 2nd. If I press OK, you can see the changes are applied respectively to the widgets. So this is the way how we can handle DateTime. The next thing that I want to cover is how we can handle objects with properties. You might watched it in the fields, how we can handle objects with the field things. But for properties, let's create a field named home address, and it's equal to address class. I created it, and this contains a couple of fields and also one property. Let's see how we can handle this one. Now I'm gonna, before I forgot, I'm gonna add it to the output. Self.address. I forgot to create address property. I will do it. Let's change it to home address, not address. Home underline address. And I'm gonna copy this one and replace it. Replace something and also this one. Okay, this is home address. For objects, you can use object for the widget. The library on the backend knows how to deal with this type of fields. Okay, if I run the application, you can see a string or a label appears in front of the home address. It contains the str or string representation of that object, and if you press the browse button, a dialog will be appeared, and you can manipulate the object inner values in another form. For example, I'm going to change it to Tehran. This is st1 postcode equals to 10, and I'm going to remove all these values inside the phone list, and you can see it's a filter object. I will tell you about it in a moment. 555, I'm going to add this one and change the number to 99. Okay, you can see change applied here, and if I press OK, also change applied to the main object. So this is how we can handle object inside another object with this library. The next thing is the filtering things that you watched it already. Let's add two other fields here, self.courses. But before that, let's see how we can use minimum size and maximum size. Imagine that I want to for login time, I'm going to use this value maximum. Oops, it's a little bit hard to type. Maximum size equal to, if you want to set a value for maximum or minimum size, you should use list notation with the semicolon for separating values. Okay, I'm going to use 100 maximum for width and 50 pixels for height. So if I run the application one more time, you can see the width is now set to the maximum, because I said maximum is 100 pixel, but the height is less than 50, and it's not a big deal. So I can change also the minimum size for the second one. I'm gonna add here minimum size again. For width, I'm gonna say minimum size could be 0, and minimum height equals to, for example, 50 pixel. Oh, I forgot to add semicolon. 50. And if I run it, something not working. Minimum sizing. minimum. Okay. So you can see the size, the minimum height for this field equals to 50. But the height, but the width, it says minimum equals to 0, and that's okay. It's stretched through the width of the form. Now we can open it based on what you want to handle. So this is the way that we use minimum size or maximum size in the widget customization. Now let's go for filtering things. Imagine that I'm gonna add a field named courses, and it contains a list of a string, for example, DB database, DS for data structure, and also Python. These are the course that this person took in the university. Now let's add a property. Copy this one and oops, copy and paste it here. So for widget, I'm going to use list or QList. And let's add it to the output also. Self.courses. If I run it, you can see similar to the previous version, we have a list here and also a tools here that we can add or delete item from the list. Okay, this one omitted, and I can also change it to database and add a new one, for example, Java or JavaScript to the courses list. Now, if there are plenty of items inside the list, and if you want to look for something inside that, you can use this filter option above the list. So I'm going to use press J. If I press J, it looks for everything that contains J in that string. So Java and JS are recovered. And if I change it, I'm going to what's happened? Something went wrong. Let's cancel it and run it one more time. But if I add an option and press double, oh, it seems we cannot. You cannot update newly added thing to the list. I should check it in future. But right now you cannot update Java, but you can update Python, or you can update database. I should check for this one. It might be a bug. I just see it right now. Now I'm gonna remove this one, so we can search for Python. So the same thing works on the both new and old things, but you cannot edit newly added things to the list. So this is how we can filter items inside a list. And if you press OK, you can see changes are applied, DS removed, DB changed to database, and also Java added to the list. And the same thing are applied to dictionaries. So let me bring a dictionary from another example. It's a little bit hard to type them. Now I'm gonna add a field on the form. It names work hours, and it contains how many hours we have worked in different months. And I'm gonna add a property also for this field. Change the name to work hours. Oops. Okay, this is work hours. And for widget, I'm going to use table. And now, if I run the application, you can see also filtering are applied to this table widget. Also, you can search based on the key value, not the based on the key, not the value part. So if I press J, it only brings me January, and I can change it to 1. Oh, I forgot to add it to the output. Let's add this one to the output also. Where is the output? Here. And I'm gonna add self dot work hours to the output. So let's and also let's use minimum size here. I'm gonna use minimum size equal to, I'm not curious about the width, but for the height, I'm going to use 300 pixel. If I run it, oops, minimum size, okay. So minimum size equal to 300, and it's a little bit tall. Let's change it to 200. I think it's okay. Now it's okay. You can see everything inside the table in a good look and feel. So If I add, for example, for July, I worked 150 hours. In June, I worked 20 hours. And then you can search for things. If I press J, you can see January, July, and June are now shown. If I use N, only January and June appear. And I want to change the value of January to 1. So let's press OK. And you can see January 1, February and March are not changed. July and June applied with the 150 and 20 as their values. So this is how filtering works for table widgets and list widgets. And you can hide them with another property that we have talked about in previous session. It was show tools equal to false. Now everything related to table widget removed. The things that we can add or remove item from the widget or the filtering part. Maybe in the next version I just separate these tools in the bottom and the filtering on the top part from each other, and I use different properties to show or hide them. So this is the change applied to list and tables in this version. The last thing that added to this library in this version, and the most important one, is a new widget named SimpleGrid. Oh, what is SimpleGrid? Imagine, let's comment all of these and also all these properties. Okay, and also I'm gonna turn a null string from $str. So imagine that I have a list of addresses inside this class. So I'm gonna add a private field name addresses equal to an empty list, and then after that I'm going to add 30 different address object to this list. It means that I'm going to go through a loop for I in range 30 or 35, and then I'm going to add self-dunder addresses that append a new address object, and I'm going to pass current index of the for loop as the name of the city and etc. in the address object. So I use city, or I pass that index to the city part. Let's do something. Let's change this one. I'm gonna pass an integer to this property, and I'm gonna use str here. And also, it's not correct, but I'm going to use city for the NO field, and also for postcode I'm going to use city applied by 10. I'm going to change them in the form so you can realize that what happened. Okay, now let's create a property for this field. And I'm going to comment all these. So change them to addresses. So for widget, I'm going to use SimpleGrid. It's a SimpleGrid, and in future I'm going to add another field, another widget type named Advanced Grid maybe. So it has more functionalities. I will talk about it in the next session, or maybe in future. So if I run the application, let's add a minimum size also to this one. Minimum, always misspelled minimum and maximum. Minimum size, for example, to 0. It's not important. For the height, it's equal to 400. And I run it one more time. Oops. For this one, I'm going to use 500 also. So this is a grid. This is a table widget that contains 35 different address objects inside it. All the fields are shown in the grid or in the table widget, and you can update its color fields such as city, street, postcode, and number. For these fields such as lists, dictionaries, and also other objects, you can just watch them. You cannot change them. But in advanced grid, I'm going to add the capability to change these complex objects or these non-scalar fields in the grid. So here is the grid, and this is the basic functionality. Let's change the output to see if the changes are applied to the objects also. Self.addresses. And if I run it one more time, I'm going to change this one to Shiraz and this one to Tehran. And for postcode, I'm going to change them to 111, 222, and also this one to SH Street, Shiraz Street, this one to TH Street, Tehran Street. And let's change the thing at last. I'm going to change it to Sari, SRST, and also I'm going to change it to 100, 1000, and also this one to 300. And if I press OK, you can see change applied Shiraz SH Street, and for the next one it's Tehran THST, and for the last one it's equals to oops, it's not changing. Why? For 35. Let's run it one more time. Let's change the one before that, Tehran, THST, and 1000, and this one equal to 300. Okay. Seems that something went wrong. 34. Yeah, something went wrong, and I should check for that. Let's see another feature of this grid, and I'm gonna check this one very soon. So this list, imagine that we have a lot of items, for example 1000 addresses inside this list, so you don't want to see all of them inside one page, so you can paginate it. I add a paginating feature to this widget, so you can use show paginator equal to true. And now if you run it one more time, you can see everything change. We have a paginator tools at the bottom of the grid. You can show, or you can set how many rows are shown inside one page, 10, 20, 50, and 100. And you can also go through these pages. We have 4 pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 4th page we have only 35 address, only 5 address, and you can go to the first page, last page, previous page, and also you can change this one. Now we have only 2 pages. First one have 20 rows, and the second one has 50 rows. Okay. Now if I change, I check changing this value here. I'm gonna change it to Tehran, and let's change it to TH Street. Let's see if changes are applied or not. Yeah, this time changes are applied. Maybe I should take care about it when we have no pagination things. Let's change some items in every page. The first and the last item in every page. I'm gonna change it to A. It's gonna be again B. For the next page, it's equal to C, D, and E, and then F. So let's see, what if I press? So this one changed, the last item. Let's see from the first. A are here, and for the 10, 7, 8, 9, yeah, things change for the 10th, so, and again for 11, it's equal to C. What about 20, 17, 18, 19, and for 20, also changes are applied. For 21, E, and for 30, it's 29. Yeah, for the 30 it also changed to E, and 31 F, and also the last one, also F. I forgot to change it to G. So this is how we can handle objects list inside this library. A grid with pagination ability to change the item inside each pages from these values, and also go through the pages. And in future, I'm gonna change or I'm gonna improve this grid to something named advanced grid. In the advanced grid, I'm gonna use widgets instead of qtable items. So for each item, I'm gonna use the appropriate widgets, and also you can change or modify the complex objects or non-scalar values field inside that widget. So this is all about this session. I hope you enjoy it and try to use this library inside your application. Please let me about your opinion of about this library, and also if any things or any issues that you have already know about this library, or any suggestion to add to this library it's good for me to hear about that. Okay, till next session, and checking about the other features that I added to this I'm gonna add to this library. Goodbye.